Slowly, Steve awoke to the sting of smoke in his throat and heat on his face.
Whoa, what happened here? I should get out before this fire spreads.
Steve exited the plane and looked around. He saw nothing but clouds, open air, and a vast world down below.
No wonder the plane crashed. There's a floating island in its path.
He leaned over the edge. The mainland was very far below. Multiple biomes were visible at this height. Looking back at the smoldering crash site, Steve said,
Whoa, it was a miracle that I survived, but the fire is burning through the plane and the island. I need to get off.
Steve searched frantically over the island for an exit, being careful not to slip and fall. He eventually discovered an old, rotting bridge that connected to another floating island.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
With weak knees and a sinking feeling in his stomach, Steve took his first steps on the ancient, decaying structure. Steve stumbled off the old sky bridge and cautiously explored the second island. He slowly made his way through the rocks and vegetation, trying to understand how a chunk of land the size of a building could be floating hundreds of meters off the ground. Soon, he found an old hut in the corner of the island.
Hello?
When no one answered, Steve decided to carefully enter. In the hut, a dusty bed sagged in the corner, with a crafting table placed by its side. Across from the table and bed sat an old chest that looked like it hadn't been opened in years. Steve moved to the chest and forced its rusted hinges open. Inside was an ancient spear, a piece of paper, and an apparatus that looked like a glider, or set of wings.
Whoa, this is some pretty sweet gear.
Steve stared at the piece of paper. "Go to the cave on the great mountainside," it read.
I wonder what this means.
He said to himself as he exited the hut. After scanning the horizon, he found what the note was talking about. A humongous mountain stretched into the clouds as if cut into the sky.
I guess that's where I'm headed.
He said.
The glider thing must be the key. Hey, there's a strap on the back.
Steve slipped on the glider and took a leap of faith into the air. He thought he would fall out of the sky at any moment, but soon the air caught the wings of his glider. He was gliding towards the mountain. Steve's landing in a pond beside the cliff was clumsy and painful.
Ouch. Well, the cave must be up there, so let's get climbing.
He climbed and climbed until he reached the great cavern. It was mostly bare, with a few torches scattered on the walls. Something rustled in the back. As Steve approached, he saw 3 zombies shuffling towards him.
Those guys look hungry.
After dodging the zombies, Steve thought he saw a sword stuck in the ground. He tried to pick it up, then realized it was a switch that brought 5 more zombies to life.
How did I do that?
Steve quickly stabbed a zombie multiple times with the ancient spear, and soon did the same for the other 4 zombies. The zombies were unrelenting. They chased Steve into the sunlight, and soon caught on fire. However, that didn't stop them from trying to feast on his flesh. The fight continued along the perilous edge of the cliff. Steve then lost his spear. He was forced to use a rotten piece of zombie meat to push the final zombie off the cliff. When the combat was over, Steve found a chest in the corner. The chest contained a bow and a quiver of arrows. There was also another message that read, "Go to the village."
What village?
Steve asked. Steve walked to the exit of the cave and surveyed the land below. Soon he could see wisps of smoke coming from what appeared to be tiny buildings next to a vast desert.
This must be the place,
said Steve, and he slipped into the glider and stepped off the cliff. Steve landed at the village and looked around. He had to replenish his health and energy, and the best way to do that was by gobbling some carrots. Steve saw multiple buildings made with soundstone around him, but one building stood out. It was very tall and was made out of cobblestone. He made his way to it and entered.
I think this is where I should go next.
Steve found a ladder leading to a second floor and found a villager. There were signs around him saying, "Hello, traveler. I am the mayor. I have heard that you need a way home. A group of witches have been threatening us and kidnapping a handful of us. I believe they have a portal to your home. Can you please teach those mean witches a lesson? There is a cart system to their lair. Please use our ancestral armor and have a safe trip." Steve donned the magical armor and equipped himself with the diamond sword and some other items the mayor had given him. He was scared of witches, but knew he would do anything to get back home. He just hoped the armor and weapons would be enough. Steve then walked to the edge of the village and found the small railway with a minecart waiting. He hopped into the minecart, flipped the switch, and was soon moving into the gloomy desert. Steve saw the strangest creatures during his trip through the desert. There were zombies like the ones he fought before, but also creepers and giant spiders. They all looked at Steve, and they all looked hungry.
It's a good thing I don't have to fight them. This speeding minecart should keep me safe.
One zombie got too close and was instantly set ablaze by the ancient diamond sword.
That will teach you a lesson.
It was not long before Steve arrived at the witch's lair. It looked like a haunted house with an underground cave. At the entrance of the cave, there was a sign that said, "Watch out, witches in cave." Steve prepared himself for battle by eating several golden apples given to him by the mayor. He He then went into the underground lair. Steve was surprised because there were a lot of skeleton heads and cobwebs. He turned a corner and saw a witch hiding. The fight was short, but Steve beat the witch. And 3 zombies that were guarding the villagers. Then Steve saw the Nether portal. He thought this portal would lead back to his home, so Steve cautiously entered. He felt very strange, like he was traveling 1,000 miles an hour, but wasn't moving at all. His vision went blurry, then black. When Steve came out of the portal, he was shocked.
This is not home.